For a democratically elected government, the Constitution is a sacred text that adapts itself to changing times to reflect the spirit of continuity amid change. The Indian Constitution is the fruit of a long-drawn national struggle for freedom. It has been our guiding light for a strong democracy. Over the decades, it allowed the country to develop our constitutional bodies and representative institutions. It was the Charter Act of 1853 that provided the country a separate legislature in the form of a 12-member Legislative Council. The Indian Councils Act of 1861, that is described as the prime charter of the Indian legislature, inaugurated the system of legislative devolution in India. It was followed by the Indian Councils Act of 1892 and the Indian Councils Act of 1909. The 1909 Act operationalized the Morley-Minto reforms and introduced the element of election and representation in the Legislative Council at the Union. The Government of India Act of 1919 gave effect to Montagu-Chelmsford reforms. It established a bicameral legislature at the Union for the first time and introduced elements of a responsible form of government in the provinces. In 1922, Mahatma Gandhi asserted that Indians alone should determine India's destiny, which is why the Government of India Act 1935, that came after over a decade, occupies a significant place in the constitutional history of India. It was this act that endeavoured to give a written constitution to the country. The Quit India movement of 1942 lent a new thrust to the freedom struggle. Subsequently, there were several efforts to work out the transfer of power and provide for a constitutional framework for free India. As part of those efforts, a British cabinet mission arrived in India on 24th March 1946. On 16th May 1946, the cabinet mission laid down the principles and procedure for framing the future Constitution of India. Members of the Constituent Assembly were elected under the terms of the plan in July 1946. The Indian Independence Act terminated the British Parliament's authority to legislate for India on or after 15th August 1947. The Constituent Assembly thus became a body fully representative of the states and provinces in India and fully sovereign of all external authority. The Constituent Assembly completed its work within 2 years, 11 months and 17 days. And on the 26th day of November 1949, it declared on behalf of the people of India that we do hereby adopt, enact and give to ourselves this Constitution. The Constitution of India came into force on 26 January 1950, and on that day the Constituent Assembly ceased to exist. It functioned as the Provisional Parliament of India till a new Parliament was constituted in 1952.